Hi everyone, I'm Lynsey Henry and I'm back for another live event with Stigma-Free Society. So just reminding you, this is all based on our Stigma-Free Toolkit. So you can find the website at stigmafreetoolkit.com. And there's lots of great resources there, especially for myself as a school counselor, as a parent, as an educator, or even as a youth to go over on your own. So please, if at any time you have any questions or comments for me, please write them in the comments box, or even just how you're feeling about what I'm talking about. That's wonderful because we want to hear from you. That's why we're doing these live events. Another reminder is that our disclaimer is in the video description, so please take a moment to review that for your safety. Now, especially for today, because I'm going to be talking a bit about how to persevere during tough times. So that's really important for your safety to consider if you're at risk for harming yourself or other people, that you really need to seek out professional help and services through a counselor or psychologist. After the video, I'm also going to post some specific helplines that you can reach out to as well, because that's very important. So this week, once again, I'm Lynsey Henry, so I'm a school counselor. And I work in elementary schools, kindergarten to grade 7. And I also work as a registered clinical counselor. All right, so let's dive into gratitude. You also might be wondering, why is Lynsey wearing this toque? It's the end of May, almost June, and she's wearing a toque. That's so odd. I'm actually wearing the toque partially because my hair is a little messed up from the COVID and need to get it dyed again, but also because I'm going to talk a bit about Find Your Anchor. And their website's findyouranchor.us. I use their Find Your Anchor box in my practice, so I'll talk a bit about that later. So gratitude. It's really important for our mental well-being and just overall seeing the value of things and the bigger picture. That we don't want to take the small things for granted. We want to have respect for one another, and we want to take into consideration world struggles, things like poverty. In Canada, we're really lucky to be living in a safe country, and that's something to be grateful for in itself. So why else gratitude? So Maddie, our content creator, posted this wonderful graphic on our Instagram, and it goes through some different positives of being grateful. So I'm going to go over them a little bit with you. The first one, overall, it's just better to see the good, refocus on the good, see more and enjoy more. It lights up the brain's reward pathway, so that's positive chemicals, and it sparks our brain activity that's critical to sleep, mood regulation, and metabolism. It also improves our physical health, so strengthens our immune system so we don't get sick as often, lowers our blood pressure, which sometimes can go up due to stress, and gives us more energy, less aches and pains. Gratitude increases social connection. We feel more satisfied with our friends, family, school, community, and ourselves when we're staying positive. It increases compassion and empathy, giving and forgiving others, and just acting pro-socially to build a virtuous cascade. It lessens anxiety and depression. So by challenging that negative thinking and those thinking errors, we can calm our anxiety and we can boost the mood for people that might be feeling depressed. It also shifts our heart rhythm, so increases coherence of body functions, which facilitates higher cognitive functions. So that's our thinking. And it helps our thinking, creates emotional stability, and facilitates states of calm. It also increases our heart rate variability. So in the image, they cited a study where heart patients who practiced gratitude showed better moods, improved sleep, less fatigue, and lower levels of inflammatory biomarkers related to cardiac health. This also increases our resilience and our self-acceptance. So resilience is the ability to bounce back from stressful events and deal with adversity. So that image was fantastic, and you can find it on our Stigma-Free Instagram account. So to me, some other things about gratitude, I focus on gratitude when I'm having a hard day. And I think to myself, what are all the things in my life that are really great? Maybe it's just this one day I'm really struggling, but you want to look at the whole overall picture of everything that we have in our life that we have to be grateful for, especially during COVID-19 right now. We do have to stay at home a bit more, but overall, we have so many things to be grateful for. Like I said, Canada is a peaceful country. We have shelter over our heads. We have family and friends that love us. We have control over our thoughts and our attitudes, and we can choose to be positive. For me, during COVID-19, a struggle that I've been dwelling on is my body image and my self-confidence. So I talked a bit about that in my body image talk, but if I was to practice gratitude, I could think to myself, wait a minute, I'm lucky to have a body in the first place that moves, that allows me to hike, that allows me to bike, that allows me to go for walks. So that's seeing that bigger picture. Even just paying it forward. So we think when we're in a coffee lineup, like Starbucks drive-through or Tim Hortons drive-through, and someone buys a coffee for us that's ahead of us, like that's amazing. Sometimes that can have such a positive impact on our day. And then it's fun to get involved in the line and pay it forward again and buy the person's coffee behind you. So just little things like that, paying it forward, being grateful to be able to do that and to set that positive mood. I also think to Thanksgiving. So on Thanksgiving, we sit around with our families once a year. Sometimes we have a big feast. And sometimes we also talk about the things that we're thankful for. So why not do that every day and think in the morning and set that positive intention, what we're thankful for that day and what's going to keep us going and positive. So you might wonder, as a school counselor, how do I incorporate this in my work with my students? So as I mentioned, I'm going to talk about the Find Your Anchor box. So this is one way I incorporate gratitude with my students. And these boxes you can get at findyouranchor.us. And the idea is for someone to find it that's feeling really hopeless. So I'm going to open it up and share a few of the things with you. So when I open up the box, the first thing that it says at the top is, this is for you. If you're feeling lost, hopeless, or suicidal. So, and it says, if none of this pertains to you, please leave the box where you found it for someone else in need. So they put them around in parks, at schools, coffee shops for people to find. And for me, I use it with my students in safety planning. So a few of the things that it has inside is the first message you come across is that you are important and you're incredibly loved. So what a positive message to receive in opening something like this. They give you a sticker. It came with 2 posters, and I actually gave one of the posters to one of my students because she really related with the message. But this poster says, often change occurs when we're ready to give up. And I'll open it up for you. It's a nice big poster just to help us stay positive. There's also a letter in here, and it goes through. It says, I love you and you're loved. No matter what, you're important. You are beautiful and I love you. And just that we would be missed if we were to harm ourselves. It says you will be missed. And in that, there's hope and there's strength for us, and to focus on those strengths and moments of gratitude. So here comes my favorite part, and these are the 52 reasons to live cards. And this is what I use in safety planning with my students. So I'm going to read you a few of the cards that I really like, that I really related to, but there's so many of them. So what I do with my students in safety planning is I get them to go through the cards and find the ones that are their favorite. And they lay them out on the table, kind of like a beautiful collage. And I take a picture of it and actually include it as part of their safety planning, because in safety planning, we want to focus on positives. And this is just a visual way to represent that. And I send it to their parents. Their parents are aware of the different things that make them feel positive. So here's a few of the cards. Heart-pounding moments. Laughing at the little things. The colors of life. Views that make you feel small. Toes in the sand. Crispy egg rolls. With this one, I think to myself, there's little things to be grateful for like this, and that's wonderful too. Crispy egg rolls, why not? A smile from a stranger. Lazy Sundays. A cute little cat there. An unexpected friend. So here's the crab walking towards the ocean. Summer afternoons. Now, for youth and teens, I feel like it's really important to have these kind of visuals, and I love the idea of putting it in a collage for their safety plan. So when I ordered the Find Your Anchor box, I also got to be part of their email list, and they sent out these free cards as well that are all about kindness. So that's just something else there. And I'm also wearing the bracelet that came with the box, and it says, Find Your Anchor. And on the other side, it says, you are so incredibly loved. And these bracelets, rubber bracelets, are just so helpful, even for kids fidgeting in class. And I also always wear my beaded bracelet and my coil hair tie, just something to fidget with for kids that are anxious. And it's not noticeable. How would you even know that I was wearing this just to fidget when I'm feeling anxious? It just looks like something fashionable to wear. So it's a good way to have coping and have those fidgets that are not too noticeable. So some other ways I incorporate gratitude. For my practicum, I was able to go to a teen girls group home, and we did gratitude jars. So that was a lot of fun. We brought in some mason jars and some fun scrapbooking paper, and I brought those cards as well for them to look at. And we wrote down different things that we were grateful for to put inside the jars. And the outside of the jars, we got some like blinging stickers, and we put some glitter glue and decorated them all up. And the idea behind a gratitude jar is that you can pull out those cards or those slips of paper when you're having a rough day and look at them to help you feel good. So that's another way to incorporate gratitude. Also through art. So I like to do a lot of art with my students. You could even draw your own jar, draw your own visual representation. And later I'm going to draw a gratitude flower with you to help show how I do that with students in person. Another way to show gratitude is, like I said, in safety planning and crisis management, is being able to have those things to feel grateful for right in the student's safety plan or the youth's safety plan. So in talking about this, it's important to go over some different crisis lines and areas for support that you can reach out to. One that we partner with as Stigma-Free Society is Kids Help Phone, and their number is 1-800-668-6868. And they also have a text service where youth can even text connect to 686868. And I think that's really great and approachable for our social media youth. And I also have Kids Help Phone posters outside my office, just in case a kid doesn't feel comfortable talking to somebody at the school, that they have another option of a person to reach out to, and that being Kids Help Phone. Another important one is 1-800-SUICIDE, and that's 1-800-784-2433. And they have a youth chat and crisis line that you can text or message anytime. The next one is the Youth Distress Line of BC, and that's 604-872-3311. And in particular for Surrey, White Rock, and Langley, and as a school counselor, I call an organization called SPEAK, and that stands for Suicide Prevention, Education, and Counseling. Now, this service is for emergencies only, and they are working through out of Options Community Services Society. So their number is 604-584-5811. And if you find yourself at home stuck in an emergency with your child or with a youth, you can call them and they'll safety plan with you right there on the phone and consult with you and give you ideas of how to help this young person that's struggling. So I think it's really important for parents and educators and youth to know these emergency helplines and when they need to call them. Some other ways to incorporate gratitude. You could do a gratitude journal. That's the major one that people think of, is to journal different things that they're grateful for. But you could also do like a challenge, a calendar challenge. They have a bunch of them on Pinterest. And like a 30-day challenge, and you check off each day about different areas of gratitude. You also could do a scavenger hunt. I saw that on Pinterest. So with the scavenger hunt, kids have to go find different things that they're grateful for, maybe looking outside, around the house, and find those physical things. A gratitude letter. So it feels great to write a letter of appreciation in words to people that we care about, whether that be friends or family members or teachers or whatnot. When you write that letter of appreciation for them, it makes you feel good and it makes the other person feel good. Even just verbalizing appreciation out loud and just saying thank you, I'm so happy, I'm so appreciative of you, can mean a lot to yourself in delivering the message and the other person receiving the message. The last one is setting a morning intention or a routine. So maybe for adults, that's while you're having your coffee in the morning and you're thinking about the things that you're grateful for and an intention, a positive intention for that day. So some different journal prompts that I saw and found quite helpful for youth that might be having trouble thinking of what to write about under gratitude. And I'll post this image to my counselor Instagram after for you as well, is a strength I'm grateful for is something money can't buy that I'm grateful for, something that comforts me, something that is funny, something in nature, a memory that I'm grateful for, something that changes, a challenge, something interesting, or something beautiful. And those are great ways to get going on your gratitude journaling. So I'm going to pause here for some of your questions. I want to hear from you. So this might be related to gratitude. It might be related to me being a school counselor or going back to school on Monday. I'm here to answer your questions, and afterwards we can do that fun gratitude flower together. So I'm going to scroll down here and see if I have any questions. Thank you for the helpline numbers. You're welcome. So helpful. I like it when people are honest and open about suicide. I feel it's important to be open and not call it a trigger word. How do you feel about this? I agree 100%. And just having that language with our children and for them not to be afraid of that word. I've even shown kind of YouTube videos and stuff in the past to classes and students around suicide, and Speak will come into schools and classrooms and do presentations. They do presentations for school counselors as well in that language and being comfortable with that language. Another helpful helpline is called START, and they're for more like severe mental health challenges. And they also do presentations at school. So I think it's really important to not be afraid to use that language with our youth and talk about what that means and where to go to for help. Otherwise, they might not see that, right? So it's really important. I agree. Thank you, Andrea. What are some strategies for going back to school? Well, I was actually just thinking about this today and talking with my counselor colleagues in our virtual meeting today. So some strategies going back to school for me, I think, is parents having conversations Sunday night with their children. If they're sending them back to school, have a conversation about those worries. Don't be afraid to talk about them and to address them with evidence. So a lot of feelings around anxiety have to do with the what ifs. What if this happens when I go to school? What if somebody touches me when I go to school? Or what if somebody takes my backpack or my personal belongings? So it is talking through those things and assuring your children that they are going to school in a safe environment and that the teachers and the school professionals have all gone through health and safety protocols and spoken with our health directors to set up schools in the safest way possible. So just going to that evidence for support. And just going to general coping skills. Like I mentioned, wearing fidget tools like a bracelet, a band, or a hair tie for older students. Maybe wearing a scent, like a little body spray that they could spray, or lavender oil in the morning to calm their nerves. Also just keeping with the routine of things. So if you normally when you used to wake up for school with your child was say 7 a.m. So keeping with that routine of 7 a.m. and maybe making their favorite breakfast. Little self-soothing things that help a lot. Keeping with routine, making their favorite breakfast, wearing comfortable clothing, listening to music on the way to school. Crank the music, have some fun with your kid on the way to school. Have some laughter before they walk in the door and appreciate those moments. Maybe a little dance or stretch before school to shake off the nerves. So thank you for that question. I think that's really important right now. How do we prepare our children mentally and emotionally? Yeah, so I think that's those conversations that I mentioned, and just defeating their worries, talking them through, and defeating them with that evidence. Are the anchor boxes for any age? Where do we get one? So the anchor boxes, yeah, I believe they are for any age, I think. And I actually want to purchase more to leave around random places because I think that's so cool. And they actually just posted on their Instagram a cute little video more about the Find Your Anchor boxes. So you can find them on Instagram. And they're around many different countries now. So they're really spreading the love around the world. It's pretty cool. I think that it's maybe more suited for a bit of an older audience. So maybe I use them generally more so with my grade 5, 6, 7 students, because I work in an elementary school. So I think grade 5 and up could relate to those visual cards and moments of appreciation, and especially teenagers, even adults. And and you can find their website, findyouranchor.us. They're on Facebook and on Instagram. And you just provide them with a donation of $25 and they'll ship it to Canada because they're an American organization. And you can order bulk orders of many boxes or just one for yourself to share with others, like I'm doing as a counseling professional. Is there additional support being offered at schools during this time of COVID-19? Additional support. Well, I know that I have to go to a health and safety training tomorrow with my principal. So there's that support for staff. They're making sure that we're setting up our classrooms in a safe manner, that the staff are trained in health and safety protocols. I will be at school Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday for any students that need my support. I'm there for them. And they can get their teacher to send them up, or I'll call down to their teacher to come help and support them with their feelings. As counselors and professionals, we're kind of just creating our own little resources. A counselor friend of mine actually sent me a great resource about going back to school that she just pretty much created on her own. So I thought it was fabulous and talked about some of those tips I just gave you. So that's kind of the support systems going on right now. What about parents themselves showing a fear of other parents at the school? How do we as parents try to lead by example and not cause anxiety in our children or more social anxiety? Well, one of the protocols we have to go through is parents aren't allowed in the school. There's going to be a meeting spot outside the school for students, for their teacher to pick them up. So as parents, it's just like in any stressful situation, you want to appear calm. So maybe on the inside, you're like, oh my God, I'm leaving my kid at school. This is pretty nerve-wracking. I'm feeling anxious as a parent, but you're just going to want to put on that brave face for your child and appear calm for them. And like I said, some of that laughter, maybe playing some music, dancing around with them before they go to school, getting a little bit silly, can help them feel a bit more positive about the day, I would say. What can kids do if they're experiencing bullying? A big bullying poster I have in my office is WITS. And they have a program of lessons and whatnot for teachers to use. And WITS stands for walk away and ignore. And T for talk it out. If that person's still bothering you, you're going to want to talk it out with a teacher. And seek help from an adult if kids keep bugging you and are bullying. And there's always school professionals like myself as the school counselor, the principal, the vice principal. So we're always there for students and in supporting them with any bullying situations. Are there any tips to try and help our children if they self-harm due to stress? Okay, so the major one, for self-harm is to develop a safety plan for that student. So that's the biggest thing we have to do as school counselors, is to create a safety plan and go through different steps for that. And one of them is finding positive things, finding coping skills, putting away sharps. So if you're a parent at home or you're worried about your child that's been expressing suicidal ideation or thoughts, you should always put away any sharps or be supervising them while they're using knife and fork with dinner, for example. So that's a big one, is safety planning for self-harm. Also, I've been following this guy on TikTok and Instagram, Driven Industries, and he had a lot of good tips for suicide, actually. So I'll share some of his tips. I don't want to take credit for them because they're not necessarily all mine. One of my tips is to wear an elastic band and snap it when you're feeling like you want to self-harm, is to use an elastic band and snap on your wrist. Some of his tips that he mentioned were using actually white Elmer's glue, letting it dry on your skin and peeling it off gently to distract yourself. Another one of his tips is to draw something red on your arm or a word of support that brings you calm feelings on your arm. And apparently something to do with the red is supposed to help soothe yourself. So that's another tip for self-harm. But just the biggest thing is to reach out for professional support so somebody can do a safety plan, because that's really important for self-harming, is further services. How do we know if going back to school is the right thing to do at this time? Should certain children remain at homeschool if they exhibit a lot of trauma and stress? I think that's a conversation for family to family. It just really depends on what your family is most comfortable with right now. And we sent a survey out to parents at my school. Some said yes, some said no. I would just really urge people to make a pro and con list and just to go off how they're feeling, their gut feelings. And we also sent out some really cool, one of our teachers posted some social stories for primary students, so younger students, going through those examples that the adults get to make the decision of what's most safe at our home right now, to go back to school or to stay home, and just being okay with that and being okay with that routine. A couple of my students that are a little bit more anxious have chosen to stay at home, and that makes sense given their history of anxiety. In terms of trauma and stress, I would say if it's triggering and it's going to cause a lot of distress at school day to day in those days that they come, I would say stay at home. Yeah, that would probably be best, and to come back in September when they're feeling ready. So thank you all for all those great questions. Those were wonderful. I still would like to make a quick gratitude flower with you, because that's something I do with my students. So I hope that you have a pencil or pen and paper handy, and we can just go through that together quickly before I end off here today. So in the middle of your paper, I just want you to draw a nice big flower, because we're going to write on each of the petals things that we're grateful for. So your flower might be a sunflower, it might be like a daisy, whatever makes you feel good. And if your petals aren't completely even, that's okay. Sometimes I dwell on that too, the little things, but it doesn't have to be perfect. Just a nice flower with some petals that we can write things we're grateful for on. Maybe even some leaves on the sides of your flower. And I'll hold mine up so you can see as well. So here's my flower, nice and big. And on our petals, let's think together, and please type some ideas you have in the chat. Because like I said, gratitude doesn't have to be those huge overarching things all the time. It can be simple little things like crispy egg rolls, and that's something to be grateful for if that's what you like, right? So what are some ideas that you want to write on your gratitude flower? For myself, the first thing is my family and friends that I'm going to write, because I'm really appreciative of all the support that they give me, and I feel really grateful for my family and friends. Something else that I'm really grateful for is just having shelter, having a home that's warm and safe. And clothing, having clothing to wear, comfortable clothing. Let's see if any of you are sharing your ideas. Grateful for food. I am too. Some of my favorite foods are sushi and pizza. So I'm going to write that. That's a fun one. Sushi and pizza. I'm also grateful for being able to do my master's, for being able to pursue my education. Is another thing that I am thankful for. And my body functionality. I mentioned I struggle with body image, so for me, I want to focus on my body functionality as something that I'm grateful for. I even have a little bit of room on my leaves here, so I think I'm going to write a few on my leaves. What else to be grateful for? What about our pets? If you have a dog or a cat at home, it's nice to be grateful for our pets. And we can think back to some of those cards. Summer afternoons, I'm grateful for. I take the summers off and just see some clients on the outside, so I am grateful for those summer afternoons to be able to just lie outside and feel the sun, soak up the sun. Grateful to feel safe with my family. Yeah, we are very lucky to have a safe and peaceful country. So I'm grateful for safety as well. Thank you for sharing that one, Fantasia. And what else? Little things, little things. I'm grateful to have a car. I'm able to get around. It might even be a bike or other little things like that. I'm grateful for those. Also, I am grateful for sweets. Sometimes we all need a sweet treat. There we go. So here is my gratitude flower. And sometimes I'll use paints and whatnot with my students. Oh, it was upside down. There we go. And to express their feelings and gratitude. I think it really engages kids to be able to draw while we talk things through. So thanks again for listening today. And I hope you found that helpful. Great to FaceTime and call friends. Yes, it is. Grateful for health and wisdom. Thank you for sharing that, Jan. That's wonderful. So I hope you all feel a little bit more inspired to be grateful in your life and to try and set those intentions in the morning. And I'll be back again next week. I'm actually going to be on Wednesday next week, so my days are going to change. And I'll be back talking about a new topic. So thank you very much. Take care, everyone.